Jesse were like anti-fighting over who wanted to go first.
No worries. So I just popped this up. So we are live now. Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm excited because you guys were all present for us watching The People versus George Lucas, which I just think is like a little fascinating chapter, and I think everyone should like be aware of everything that happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm curious what you guys all thought about it. If you guys want to, real quick introduce yourselves, and then yeah, what did you think overall?
So my name's Carter, or like Car2D2. You can find me on TikTok. I'm really small, but
He
yeah, I
says he's
thought it
small, but he's a
was.
wrestler, and he just like whooping people's ass all day.
I do wrestle. Thank you, but yeah, I thought it was actually a film that the first big takeaway I got was that everyone needs to see it. Like everyone who diehard hates the sequels needs to watch that film. And I think that's kind of a general opening thought, so I can let these two go first. But I think that's for sure something that I noticed, like right off the bat.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next?
Alright, and then I guess I'll go.
Go for it.
So, my name is Justin Thorson, or Justin R. Thorson on TikTok, and I just wanted to talk about how the parallels are between the sequels and like the prequels, like the hate, like saying how it and now how people are saying they want to see George's vision, and they said they didn't want to hear it like last time.
So you understand now why people like me are like, really? You want the Lucas version? Like I remember, y'all weren't. um, yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, your thoughts? Now you seem to have frozen.
Oh no.
Effects on TikTok, underscore on the front and back. And I feel like
There you go.
one big takeaway. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, I feel like one big takeaway from the documentary was, I feel like there is a bit of a contrast between sort of the toxic fan base then and the toxic fan base now. I feel like both have similarities, but both, I feel like originally the fan base that was around when sort of the prequels were coming out, it was just it was very toxic. I noticed in the documentaries they had a lot of harsh stuff that they were throwing out, and I feel like the death threats. I feel like that is still a thing now, but it's crazy the toxic side of the fan bases on both of those time periods basically. So.
Yeah, and so I've realized now because I was in a chat with some people and they were talking about it, but kind of waxing nostalgic on like, oh, it wasn't too bad back then. There was just like little small differences, and I was like, I literally thought that I was the only person on Earth that enjoyed the prequels at one point. I personally left. I left the fandom because I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this myself, and I feel like a lot of people don't believe that actually happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Because I actually thought, because I knew that they got hate, but I didn't know they got that much hate. Some of the comparisons they would put up George Lucas, which are probably a little bit too rated R for this podcast, are like insane that someone would actually say that about a Star Wars film. And like more specifically, like they would say that whenever like special editions came out and they changed like 2 scenes, they come out saying like wanting to end George's life. You're like, what? They changed 1 scene to help it, like, be more modern and age with time. So why are people upset that I don't know.
But it's funny because I mean that was my time growing up, is when those special editions first started coming out, is when I first got into it. And like I thought I was crazy because I kept hearing all this stuff like, oh my goodness, he just ruined it, and like just give us the original versions. All this stuff is terrible. And I was like, this stuff is awesome. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, if you guys have seen Empire Strikes Back and you've seen how beautiful Bespin is as a planet, that's all added. Almost none of those. There were no windows in Bespin.
Oh my gosh, Bespin compared from the original release is like night and day.
Granted, there are some weird things like Jedi Rocks.
But you love it. But like Jedi Rocks is awesome. It gets so much hate, but like it's fun and it's Star Wars.
It's awesome. Like I think it. Yeah.
No. And real quick, I want to say hello. Do a couple shout outs here because I have Leo Garby in the chat, Angie, Darth Not Vader. Klein, if you want to get on, you have to just join the Discord if someone wants to pop it up there. Mr. Dram, hello. We have Mike Porter in the house. Core Gamer Skills. Harold says,
Core Gamer
okay.
Skills is awesome.
Yes, he definitely is. Harold Barnes says, okay, but to be fair, I really do not like the special editions either. which is okay. One of the big things I wanted to show everyone is the parallels of how history just repeats itself. You know, it's when it's different than what you grew up with, it's hard to take it in. It's hard to watch because this is something that for a lot of people it informed your feelings on morality, on right and wrong. Like it's almost a religion, you know. It helps shape your worldview, and if it's different than what you remember it, that's problematic to some people right off the bat. And so that's kind of the thing I really wanted people to be able to see.
Yeah, I think something people have to realize is that Star Wars is for kids, or at least George makes it for kids. So
And
obviously,
Justin,
the stuff...
I think you're echoing for us.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Oh, my bad.
So yeah, Star Wars is made for kids. So whenever people are saying the stuff that's made today doesn't feel the same, because they're not going to have the same nostalgia factor to it, and they're obviously not going to like it the same because it's not what they grew up on. So it makes complete sense. I get it that people aren't going to maybe not like it the same, but still, that doesn't mean you can just bash it because these kids are growing up with Star Wars the same way you were growing up with Star Wars thinking, why the heck are all these guys bashing it? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like you were literally in those shoes defending the prequels, and now some, I'm not saying all, obviously, some people are just now bashing the sequels. Like, you have become the thing you swore to destroy.
But it is fascinating though to watch how George Lucas really hated the film industry and how it functioned, and that's what led him to create Star Wars the way he did, only to end up becoming the film industry when running his own stuff. I mean, so it's not the criticism is not unfounded is what I'll say, but you know, we see how it moves forward, and man, it was a time jump, and it was rougher times back then. People could get away with saying some outlandish things.
Oh my gosh, like there were times, because we obviously watched it all in the server, where we would all just comment, what the heck are they saying? These people...
all these analogies, like, oh my god.
And if you have watched George Lucas versus the People, you know.
there's which also lends some credence to why people.
Some parts that
No, go ahead, Fax. If you can hear me.
You good?
I was thinking about how there were certain parts I feel from the prequels that I feel like they were really, like, from my personal watching experience, I felt like they were really awesome. They were really pivotal. They really helped shape the plot in a certain way. Like that one moment where Vader just screams "No!" like over his wife basically dying, and then that like bald guy on the documentary going like, "Oh, that was like the worst part. That was terrible. They should like take that out. It was awful." So it was just weird.
That part was one of the single most hated things I ever heard about. Like, far
I
and
could
away.
get it. I get it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that part, but I can get, like, I'm not gonna just hate it, but for sure get why people would hate it.
Like literally, can I bring something up?
Go for it.
So I've seen a video of like people like bashing a little girl for cosplaying as Rey. So and like they were like that with the prequels as well. And like there's like so many like different parallels like going on there.
Yeah, it's interesting, but that goes to show you that that as a community we are gonna heal. We're gonna be able to get through all this stuff because I don't believe it. People's opinions are going to change. I don't. I really don't. But what's going to happen is people are going to get older. Some of the more outspoken people that hate it are going to care less. And then all the people that love it and all the new people who come into this world with 9 movies are going to see things differently, which is what we saw happen then.
Well, I think that's probably one of the biggest points why, at least we see it so much, is because, like, when we were kids, we were a little young and naive and don't really pay attention to what's happening on the internet so much. And now those people who were little kids loving those movies are going to go on the internet and say, yeah, I love these movies, because they didn't see any of that hate. And now it's like the same exact thing is happening again. Just the little kids who love the sequels and have a childhood really based around the sequels just don't have that platform of internet yet, but eventually they're gonna have that platform, and then they're probably, hopefully not, but probably gonna hate whatever comes out 10 years from now.
I think it's gonna be more like there's gonna be so much content coming out in like the next 10 years that is gonna like end up being like you gotta keep on like hating the next thing and the next thing, but like it's gonna, like, if they keep on talking about like the sequels, like, come on, it's been like 10 years, like.
Right, and I also feel another thing is, I feel like with the sequels, since director changes occurred throughout the movies, I really feel like that, though some people think that that was the bane of the sequels, that's what made it so bad, is because there are so many director changes. I feel like that sort of fluidity in how things work within the trilogy will sort of prove as a reminder as to how these trilogies can shape and form and just ultimately help cultivate some of the best parts of Star Wars coming into the future. I mean, who knows, they'll probably possibly come out in the future with new trilogies, and they'll have, new directors, different ways of doing these sorts of how they direct them and all that. So I feel like that would really just shape new fans' experiences in general.
Yeah.
Well, I know we for sure have the confirmed Ryan Johnson trilogy. We just don't know anything about it. But
we don't know
we have
anything
that
about
coming
it. But I'm gonna bet money that it's High Republic, and that's why we don't know anything about it. Because High Republic stuff is just now coming out, and they want to wait for to build some excitement. That's my prediction, but it could still very well be wrong.
When the new High Republic comic comes out tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, I mean, do you guys have any closing thoughts? I'm gonna bring in the next next
Well,
group?
I think it's always gonna end up like in a cycle with like all these like fans, but like I think as a community we can try and like go against that like the toxicity, but like you know.
Yeah, I think it's what group is going to kind of be the bigger man, and then just say, because it's never going to end. But if like I know like we have an amazing community formed like here, especially in like Choco server and stuff, where if we can just at least try to just stop toxicity, and there's a lot of people doing that, especially on TikTok, just trying to stop toxicity as much as we can. So I think that'll be awesome for the future.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. I mean, I already see the shift. It seems pretty big to me already, and hopefully I can continue to be part of it. I mean, with Element 7, with any other creators that are willing to join in.
I know I've changed some of my real life friends' views on things because of you. So I thank you for that, because they don't listen to me whenever I say it, but if they listen to someone who has 100,000 followers, they do. So I thank you.
Right. I feel like that sort of, especially in Discord. I mean, I think it's only for me been over a year that I've started really dabbling in Star Wars Discord servers, and I'm a huge fan of how people just bounce ideas off, how they bounce their views and opinions off of each other when it comes to these movies. I feel like that will be really incredible for the future generation of Star Wars. I think that's going to hopefully decrease the toxicity that we have. And I feel like if we really work as this united group of Star Wars fans, hopefully in the future, it may sound like a fever dream now with all these toxic fans and stuff, but I truly feel like with these Discord servers and how people just bounce things off of each other and how they just talk about Star Wars nonstop, technology has really fueled this generation of Star Wars and has helped just foster a lot of new creativity and just a lot of stuff in general in the fandom. So I think that will be really beneficial for the future of our fan base.
Absolutely. And yeah, and I apologize. Thank you guys for talking with me. I do want to cycle into the next group of people, but yeah, this has been awesome, and I will do this more often. This is my second time. I'm still getting my act together, so I apologize. But yeah,
awesome.
If you guys wouldn't mind hopping out of the room so I can bring the next people in.
Yeah, have a good night.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Choco, for doing this. It's always a blast.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. All right, that was fun. Let's get these next group in here. Oh. I tried to move you guys in, and I ended up moving the entire waiting room. It's like, that's not.
I mean, at least we're all here now.
Hey.
How's it going? All right. So I am excited. Yeah. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing good. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to hang out and talk. I'm a little bummed because we didn't have the same, turnout that we did yesterday. But yesterday, as you know, I had kind of a Hail Mary, like an audible
last minute
thrown out in the last minute.
Gotta take that shot when you get it.
That's what Eminem taught me.
We were talking in the green room how the universe got meta at that point. We just finished watching the People versus George Lucas, and that happened. You got a chance for that Discord, and the Force moves in mysterious ways.
No, it was fun, and hopefully, I can't wait to continue to have those types of conversations moving forward. But But yeah, what did you guys think of The People versus George Lucas? Was it worth the watch? Do you recommend it to people? Oh, actually, first, let's go around and I'll have you guys introduce yourselves. So you can give us your name, who you are on TikTok, and also let's go with who your master would be. Whether you're going to be a Jedi or Sith, what master you pick. And yeah, just go for it. Whoever wants to go first.
Mr. TikTok famous, you want to go first?
Who's TikTok? What?
Yeah, I said you're TikTok famous. You want to go first?
I mean, sure. I'm Jesse. On TikTok, I'm mentally ill Sith Lord. Yeah, but if I had, was that it? Like, that's all I had to cover? But
Yeah.
then my master.
Yeah.
My master. Well, first I'd be a Sith because I'm too emotional to be a Jedi. I'm not about that peace life. I like expressing myself. So if I had to pick a master, I have to go with either Maul or Malgus because don't you say it. I know what you're gonna say, but yeah, Maul or Malgus. Malgus is just he's Diet Vader, but I love him, and Maul is just cool. So yeah, that's me.
Malgus is not Diet Vader. Especially when you read Deceived, and you
Yes.
see his loving relationship. It does not end well for her. He's
Super
like-
reaffirmed to me that he's Diet Vader.
no. It's as if there was a better marriage of Anakin and Vader. It's a truer convergence of the two.
I mean, the context is a little different. I mean, Anakin never really had the chance to be brought up in the Sith Empire, but I digress.
Don't tear down Malgus. Don't start this.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's
go
not
ahead and go
bad.
next.
I'll
You
Yeah.
can go next.
I'll go next. So my name's Liam on TikTok. At Darth LG Hannah. I mean, I haven't made any content yet, but maybe one day people have a want to hear me say something uninteresting or unoriginal. But yeah, if I also would be a Sith, and I think that I want my who would I want my master to be? I mean, everybody dies under Palps, but he is my favorite Sith. So like, maybe if I have all my limbs and the will to be a good Sith Lord, Palps could be a good master for me.
What the heck? I apologize. Give me 1 second. For some reason, it seems like the stream ended for some reason.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Or I apologize. Give me 1 second. For some reason, it seems like the. Okay. Well, apparently the stream didn't end. But my chat was saying. No, I pulled it up. My chat version that's up says the live event is over. But I pull up the stream and I still see myself talking, saying that the live event is over. So I don't know what that means. Probably. I apologize. Give me 1 second. For some reason, it seems like the. Okay. Well, apparently the stream didn't end. But my chat was saying. Okay. No, I pulled it up. Okay, so I'm seeing it looks like my window with the chat still started to act. I don't know what's going on. Anyways. I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue.
No, I was just about. Yeah, I was done. So it's.
Alright, I
but
guess it's
did you mention who your master would be?
Oh yeah. Well, I was just saying. I mean, a Sith. I'm thinking about my favorite Sith, and Palps is probably my favorite canon and Legends. But all of his apprentices die. So I think that if I was determined to to stay down the dark path, maybe there's a chance that I could be the lucky one that makes it out. But yeah.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. And then last but not least,
I am Pat. I go by Saint Pat of Starfleet on TikTok, and yes, I do make Star Wars content. Don't let the name fool you. So I would be a Jedi. Going to diverge from the other guests for a bit here. And my master would be Qui-Gon Jinn, because for personal reasons I imprinted him as a father figure growing up, but also I am very much a perfectionist, and I'm very future-minded and get bogged down in that, and Qui-Gon I think would really be helpful with teaching me the lessons of slowing down, focusing on the present, which I've had to learn, so.
Okay, perfect. I love it. Yeah. So what did? So we watched The People versus George Lucas. I'm curious for people, especially that grew up with the prequels, what you guys thought of it, how it makes an impact on you, what you take away from it. And discussion. This is just a discussion. So,
Someone else want to jump on? I went first for the introductions.
I'll go first since I went last for the introduction. So, growing up, prequel hate was kind of like a joke between me and my friends. Like, we knew that people hated the prequels, but since me and my friends grew up with the prequels, the bandwagon was much of a joke between us. Like, we would diss on Jar Jar, we would talk about the writing and stuff. But for us, we all enjoyed it. It was Star Wars. We'd grown up with it. I had seen when I was 6. Saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters. It was my first Star Wars in theater movie, and so while I'll joke around with the prequel, I love the prequels. And the Phantom Menace is my comfort movie.
Yeah.
And so
I love the Phantom Menace too.
And so, like, hearing these people talk about and hate on the prequels, like, with passion, that was completely a different vibe from what was my friends. It was like jarring. I couldn't help but feel the poetry and rhyme that has with the sequel haters, and I just, like, while on a level, like, one level it was okay, that's kind of cool. It's rhyming like the actual movies. The fan base is rhyming. On another, it's like these people are so toxic, and I don't know if they were more toxic or the same toxic as the sequel haters.
It's it's kind of funny when especially like when you're watching it and the person is saying, you know, my kids seem to like it, and it's weird because they grew up with 6 movies and they don't know that this isn't part of Star Wars, and you're like, but it is, like, I don't know, it's just like surreal. And it, how about you? I apologize, I'm gonna say little drummer boy.
Liam. Yeah, no, I mean, I was very aware of all of the prequel hate that was going on. You know, that was around that time I got to see I got to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters as well. But what I always was kind of like, I was able to avoid a lot of it. I was able to kind of like be, you know, all my friends were the same age and experiencing it all at the same time and enjoyed it. And we, you know, all had lightsaber fights pretending that we were like Obi-Wan and Anakin, and like, you know, we were able to not have the fear of being Star Wars fans. But it was, a lot of it was like, I did sense it even among my parents' generations. Like, my dad was always like, how could Revenge of the Sith be your favorite movie when Empire is a thing that exists? And that wasn't even my favorite original trilogy movie. But I digress. Like, you know, I think it was pretty opening to what was going on. I think it was an important discussion, but it's also kind of funny how, like, now since we've moved on from George Lucas, people are kind of using him as a vehicle to show that, like, we want him back. You know, we were better with him, but like, no, we weren't. We weren't going to get anything because we were bullying him for, you know, pretty much ever since created A New Hope or Star Wars back then. Like, it's so funny how, like, you know, my opinions on theory has changed a little bit, but like I thought that, you know, a lot of people claiming to be George Lucas purists and like, you know, the sequel trilogy doesn't align with the Star Wars universe, like it doesn't match, it doesn't mesh with the first 6 as well as, you know, the prequels and everything do. Like it's not different from what it's something which we would have gotten nothing, but it's not different from a lot of Lucas treatments. It's not different from a lot of like Legends content. It's just like, you know, they claim to be so in love with the George Lucas vision, but nobody was. So that's kind of what I think it's a great movie that puts things in perspective.
Yeah, and that's why, like, as a creator, and people are like, we need to bring George back. I'm like, really? You just...
Yeah.
There was a whole section of just people burning toys of Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
That was weird. That was really weird.
But yeah, I mean, how about you, Jesse?
Well, for me, when watching it, I was really surprised when that one guy purposely left out Return of the Jedi as a good original trilogy movie. That, if anyone was watching in the movie theater chat, I was losing my mind. I was like, who does this guy think he is that he can leave out Return of the Jedi? He has no say.
Hated Return of the Jedi, too,
in
the same way.
It was painful. But when I go back and think about it, like, I was really young when Revenge of the Sith came out. I was, like, not even 3 years old. So, hearing the prequel hate, I didn't actually see it firsthand until the Clone Wars was about halfway into its TV run. When everyone I knew, they were all kids, so we all liked Ahsoka. We all liked Jar Jar in some way. And a lot of people did like the prequel trilogy, and then we got access to the internet, and people were putting their opinions out there like, oh, I love Revenge of the Sith, it's such a good story, and then you just see these, like, 25-year-olds ripping on a 13-year-old for saying Revenge of the Sith is their favorite movie. I remember one of my friends was just like, I don't know if I can talk about Star Wars anymore, because every time I bring up my favorite movie, I'm getting absolutely pelted just for liking it. And when I watch this documentary, there's nothing really surprising because it's a theme that we've seen, well, not me personally, but people who have been with Star Wars since the 70s have seen this. There have been people, and a loud group of people openly expressing how much they hate what is going on with Star Wars and saying, oh, this isn't part of my Star Wars. This doesn't line up with the original Star Wars. And some of the people in that documentary were comparing George Lucas to some pretty crazy things, and I was like, "What's going on here? Like, this is a bit extreme." So, like, looking at it, it's like it kind of hurts to see the thing you love so much have a group of people who are so rude and so hateful towards one another and to the person who gave it to them. It's like a painful. It's like someone took something away from you. It's like that. You're a child, you don't see anything wrong. You grow up and you're like, what's going on here? Why can't I like this? And it was kind of painful to have that guy say that about Return of the Jedi. Now I know the sequel fan pain.
It's especially painful when one of the messages of Star Wars is be kind and work together and stuff with each other and be united.
Yeah, stand up for what you believe in, yeah.
Like, one of the biggest themes is always like the underdogs prevail, you know, like especially like with the rebellion and the resistance, and then like all of these sequel haters are like, we should have these sequels decanonized because like most people don't like them. It's like you not pay attention.
They skipped that part.
They skipped that part.
I gotta say, my favorite person in the whole video is that older woman that had all the toys on her wall, and she's like, "Star Wars has taken away my husband and my kids." And you're like,
We were all kind of like,
whoa, this lady's
some of
losing
those
it.
people. Some of those people, man. It was.
They were.
And the burning toys.
And I think it was like this one woman. She was hating on Star Wars, but she was like in the Star Wars cosplay, and it was a really jarring juxtaposition because she was spewing all this hate, but she made the time to either buy or make a Star Wars cosplay.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
And you know, there was also that whole section in the middle on merchandising where people were hating on George Lucas because all of this was just a cash grab and stuff, and then they would continue to buy stuff, and I don't know.
If it was such a cash grab, why is there not more content? He would have made so much more money. I mean, yeah, like obviously there's all the toys and stuff like that, but you know, I get you know, movies and shows and stuff are expensive, but like everybody's gonna still watch them. Maybe not everybody buys toys, but there's a lot of people that are gonna watch, you know, new content.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I do want to cycle in the next group, but do you guys have any, like, I don't know, closing thoughts?
No, I mean, thank you for
Yeah, it
posting
was.
that.
Yeah.
was
Thank you
great
guys
being on
for
here.
joining. This was fun, and we had a great turnout. So I think I'm definitely going to do more of these where I'll, you know, do a showing of something that's going to be fun, and then we can do discussions and stuff afterwards. And who knows? Maybe I'll arrange like public discussions of Bad Batch or something the following day, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a watch. I don't know. Maybe not like a watch party, but something like that for Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's copyright concerns and stuff like that, unless I do Patreon or something like that. But
I think
haven't decided yet.
I've seen before that, like, you know, Disney Party does have like a whole, you know, sharing thing, but a lot of times it's just like giving a live reaction, like even just streaming a live reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
what-
Plus we all are gonna need time to decompress and, like, you know, let it simmer a
Also,
little
let
bit.
people have a chance to watch.
Yeah.
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 There is one thing I wanted to bring. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's one thing I wanted to say to, like, anyone watching who's a sequel fan. I don't know. I can't see who's watching, but I really do recommend watching this if you're a sequel fan, because I'm an original trilogy fan, and seeing this, I felt kind of like, why am I liking this when so many people hated it? It's kind of like, it really helps you feel like you're not the only one who is experiencing this, and it helps you know that there are other people out there who are also getting treated this way. And it's kind of like this whole thing Chaco is promoting is like this unity, and I think this documentary really helps us see that we can come together. And I think, thanks Chaco for putting it on for us. It was awesome, and like, thank you for promoting this unity. It's a good documentary to help you know you're not alone in how some people are treating you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope you do get to write that letter about Return of the Jedi.
It's coming, man. It's coming.
All right, guys, if you don't mind hopping out of the room, and then I will bring in the next group of people. But nice
All right.
chatting with you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Where is the link? So let me grab these people, bring them in, and then while they are getting acclimated, I will pop up a link. Hello, everybody. Invite people.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you? Is this the Darth Chaco?
So, Element, I wasn't sure because it's like, oh, the picture is the same, but the name is different. This may or may not actually be him.
Who's Element?
Oh,
I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't know.
I never heard of that guy. So, oh my God, Darth Chaco in the flesh, in the room. I'm so excited.
feels bad because I'm just a regular fan, which was actually one of my takeaways from talking to Star Wars Theory, is that largely he feels probably the same way that I do, you know. But yeah, let's start out by
I huge fan. I'm Marvin Stevenson. I don't know what to say. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Marvin, hello. Yeah, let's start by going around the room and introducing yourselves. And this time I will have you say, you know, you can be any type of warrior you want, whether you're a Jedi or Sith or a bounty hunter or whatever. What character was your most recent kill? So introduce yourself and let me know which character was your most recent kill.
Again, Darth Marvin Stevenson. Huge fan of Darth Choco, but in secret I call him Coco. But that's beyond that's besides the point. If I were a warrior, I would most likely make comics related my last kill, just because he does not deserve your time. He really does not.
I was trying to refer to mostly to fictional characters or people, but I appreciate the I appreciated Marvin Stevenson.
Coleman, Trevor.
It's an easy kill, but good for you. How about you, Cal?
I mean, I was just roped in here by Marvin. I'm just here for fame. But in all seriousness, though, I don't know. Like, I think that I would be a little too soft to want to kill someone. But if I would, it would probably be me as a Jedi taking the life of, you know, some ne'er-do-well, be it like a bounty hunter or something like that. But it would be very begrudging. I wouldn't want to do it.
Okay. Good-natured Jedi, probably from the High Republic. I got you. I'm surprised because I felt like Pong Krell was on your tongue. Like I felt like I could hear you thinking it, but maybe
you're not wrong.
Maybe.
I think he's on like everybody's like number one on their hit list.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And last but not least.
Yes, hi, I'm Hannah, and I would be the bounty hunter ne'er-do-well that Cal kills. And I, before getting slain by a righteous Jedi, I believe that I would double cross whichever bounty hunter that I was working with. And I have enough confidence in my skill to say that I feel like I could double cross and kill Robot Dengar from Rise of Skywalker. Like 2% Dengar, 98% droid. I think I could do it.
Believe it. I feel like you would also like take an arm off me or something like that in the process.
Yeah.
So it'd be lasting.
With a blaster, though. So.
Yes, it just
a lot of shots in succession.
Yep.
I'd like to change my answer. I think my answer would be Kiadi Mundi and Grandmaster Zebo. Or Grandmaster Zim, sorry. I just watched Falcon. That was a Freudian slip, sorry.
I don't even know how to respond.
I can't keep this up. Sorry.
I'm impressed, honestly, more than anything.
Elements Evan in the house, guys.
What?
Oh! Element! Okay, I didn't even...
Jeez.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, we got to watch the documentary, and I'm happy to see how it may have changed people's thoughts, or what you may have learned, or what did you guys think overall? Just kind of an open discussion.
Just like you, I grew up in that environment, and I too felt like I was alone. the moment that I got out of the Phantom Menace in the theater, I was talking to my brother about like the awesome lightsaber duel, the Duel of the Fates, the music. Like we should try to find this song and just blast it forever. And then I remember a group of 6 people that were beside us, and they were just fuming, and I didn't understand why. And it kind of reminded me of The Last Jedi, because I walked out of there thinking, everyone's going to love this. This is like the best thing since Empire. I made my YouTube video about it. I put up my review. This is the best thing since Empire Strikes Back. It didn't hold up.
Directly relate to that completely. My older sister and I watched all of the prequels in theater. We kind of grew up on Star Wars together, and it's been something that's kept us super close. Like, we both got Star Wars tattoos together and stuff like that. So it's always been something that we've just loved. And I just remember all of the hate, be it from adults that watched it when we watched it, and, bullies in school and stuff like that. There was actually one point when I was on a bus, and I think I had either a Star Wars backpack or a lunchbox or something like that, and a kid just came up and was like, "Oh, you stupid Star Wars nerd!" Like, I don't remember the exact context, but I took a pencil to the leg, and so, like, just growing up through just that hate, it was a really hard time being a Star Wars fan. There's a lot of moments where it's like, is this a fandom I even want to be a part of? I love the content, but there's just so much hate, and I like you were saying, I felt completely alone. It was like just my sister and I as like the only people that I really remember truly loving Star Wars. And then fast forward to the sequel era, and it's like now everybody's loving the prequel. So I'm like, I mean, hey, at least people are coming around. And I remember too walking out of The Last Jedi with my roommate at the time, and we were both just like in tears. Like, that was beautiful. Like, that was so good. And both you and I still hold today that, like, that's our favorite Star Wars movie that's come out. And just, like, to see online the next day that, like, was like, wait, what? How could they have hated that? Like, it was so good. And I don't know, it just brought back a lot of those memories watching that documentary of, like, yeah, that was not a fun time to be a Star Wars fan. There was a lot of hate. And a lot of it was put on George Lucas. A lot of it was put on the fans that actually did like it and wanted to support it. And it was just a tough time. So it's cool to now be in an era where acceptance and excitement's much more prevalent.
Yeah, it's man. After I remember sitting in the theater, The Last Jedi wraps. I look over to my buddy. I'm like, man, people are gonna love this movie. What do you think of the documentary, Hannah?
Yeah, I think, well, I kind of grew up post prequel era. I didn't watch the original trilogy till like 2007. So I kind of grew up with like the knowledge, oh, the prequels are bad, you don't have to watch them. Oh, like that was the consensus. And I didn't watch them until after the, because I enjoyed Star Wars. I enjoyed it casually as a child. I didn't get into it until The Force Awakens. And that made me, revisit everything, and it reawakened like, hey, I really enjoyed this as a kid. Let me see if I can delve in a little bit more. And I loved it, it hasn't stopped, but I was just sort of under the impression of like, yeah, that's the take everyone has. Nobody liked the prequels, that kind of thing. Because of that era of, fans. And so when I was watching that documentary for the first time a couple of years ago, when it got to the point where it's like, oh, the Phantom Menace comes out, what's it gonna be? It's like the moment before the car crash, because I was just like, they didn't, there's no like argument in my head of like, oh, how could they not like that? I saw it was so cool. Because when I saw it, I was like 16 years old. So I already had that in my head of like, oh, these are bad movies. So I didn't have like that huge enjoyment of it because I went into it with those preconceived notions. So I guess seeing that like, prevailing opinion be formed almost in real time-ish was like really interesting. Knowing what I do now, which is like, know, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of episodes 1 and 2, but I enjoyed them just fine. And they're, you know, for sure they were like over attacked, and with the knowledge of like how the sequels are now over attacked, it puts me in like a weird position of sort of like understanding a lot of the points of view, but not having like been there in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always that's kind of an interesting experience to be someone that was always told, you know, you don't have to watch this or whatever. And for the longest time, you know, Machete Order just didn't include the Phantom Menace at all. It's, I don't know, man. It's wild because I remember it being more intense than it is now. And in rewatching the documentary, I'm like, oh yeah, this is all before the internet was like a big thing. Like this is, you
All
had
the
to.
hatred was relegated to the forums, and you had to go there to see it, right? And now, people's got YouTube channels, TikToks. They have the platform to be loud.
And with the algorithm, whether or not you want to see it, you hear that opinion. Like, you know, if you're just a casual, you know, you watched The Force Awakens one time, you thought it was fine, you like one thing that's Star Wars related, and suddenly you get the Rey's and Mary Sue videos, and then you kind of think about it, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess so, because you've only watched it that one time and you didn't really like retain it that much, and now that's your mentality.
Yeah, or you get the algorithm that will clump up a bunch of like-minded people, so when it does show up and you're like, well, I don't think that Rey's and Mary Sue, you have an entire army of people that are just going to fight you. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm wrong. I'm the idiot. And I don't know, it sometimes the technology can also do bad in creating those barriers between parts of the fandom that hold different opinions. So,
Yeah.
You know, the thing I want to dig up though is the fan full film where they separated it by like 40 seconds. And everyone created their own thing.
They chunked it into little bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Element?
Well, I think the biggest revelation for me watching that movie is seeing kind of like this prevailing notion that the kids, if it's the kids, they always love it, right? And then they showed that these fans who largely spoke out against the prequels had kids, and when they watched it they loved it, and like, oh, which one do you prefer, the original or prequel? And the kids picking the prequels. And then I had a chance to watch The Rise of Skywalker with my twin nephews, and they absolutely loved it. So who am I to be to like, you know, dissuade them or discourage them from enjoying something? And that was in my positive review of Rise of Skywalker when I posted it on YouTube. I was like, at the end of the day, like, if they're going, oh wow, this is awesome, and I'm like, okay, this is a great movie, what do you want?
But I think a lot of the cyclical hate that keeps coming up with Star Wars is it's different generations. There's been so much time in between each trilogy that people form expectation, and they have this concept of what they think that it should be, and time passes and they lose track. And I think they even mentioned it in the documentary of like, maybe we kind of forgot how to be kids. And
Yeah.
like every trilogy has been about bringing in a new generation of fans, bringing in more fans. So I think it's something that gets tough for some people where they forget that, like, hey, the Star Wars might not be made for me. It might be made for the specific group that didn't like the original Star Wars, and now we just have more Star Wars fans. The family grows larger. There's just more to love. And then, obviously, as a corporation, they want the money, so they're going to keep trying to, you know, increase the demographic that enjoys Star Wars. And that's only a good thing for us, because now we have 10 new shows on the horizon. And I guarantee you one of those you're going to like. So... I don't know. It's only ever good to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I would. Yeah. No, I fully agree. In having the documentary framed as it was, where it starts out with George and his thought process in creating the original trilogy and going against the grain and fighting these corporations and, you know, how much it meant to everyone. And then the next chapter being about the special editions coming in and people's reaction to the special editions. You know, there's Jesse won't let die the person who doesn't like Return of the Jedi because it sounds weird nowadays, but it's fascinating how it's the same complaints word for word. I know it's crazy to me.
Like poetry, it rhymes. Irony.
And I think that doesn't bode well for the future, to be honest. If those, you know, consistent complaints have persisted over and over and over, even if we do that good work of, like, you know, showing people the light, I feel like just the light will be shown for the existing media, and then as soon as the new media comes out, people are going to be like, well, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it, and it's the same things that they, you know, walked out of the theaters saying about Empire Strikes Back and how that was terrible. It just, like, you know.
Baby steps.
Well,
Yeah,
I actually
ebb and flow of the balance of it all.
I'm hopeful for the future because I think we might enter a phase where instead of waiting long time periods between releases to the point where the next release is for the following generations, that we're going to get enough content that there's something aimed for everyone. So I think that could potentially break the cycle.
This community as well. If we all go into the next trilogy, the next generation with our hearts on our sleeves and say, this is for the kids, let's not ruin it. I'm sure we can break the cycle.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Beautifully stated.
Thanks, that makes a lot coming from you.
Thanks. Norman?
Big fan.
Liam?
Big
Marvin?
Is that his name?
Marvin.
How
The
dare
author of every Revan book Revan's real name, Marvin?
you. Yes.
Darth Marvin Stevenson, the third of the house.
No, I just yeah, I just think that there's a lot to look forward to, and as like you guys all said, as soon as we can recognize, like, hey, maybe we aren't the target demographic, and so our understanding may be different than theirs because it'll be expanded because they're coming in with all of this versus a little bit of it. I got also. Let's put some props to those kids who, in a basement, were like, we're gonna make Indiana Jones and started lighting each other and stuff on fire.
I love that
That's
so much.
isopropyl alcohol.
Oh, let's just switch it to gasoline. My code's flame retardant. Like,
That was, I mean, not on quite that level, but that was closer to my childhood in relation to Star Wars. Was like, make
Fire?
your own thing and do it in the basement. No fire, but like Sawyer and I would be in my basement making. It was often more Harry Potter related, making like all of these complex, you know, sequels to movies that we liked. And sometimes it was Star Wars, and sometimes it was other things. But just the joy of being a kid in a basement doing whatever, probably not safe, just out of like your uncontrollable, you know, creativity is, I mean, you love to see it, and it's like the greatest thing ever.
No,
anyone who wants to squash on that has no soul whatsoever.
Well, it impacted the entire. Like all of the people who are making films and things right now have all been touched by the works of George Lucas. Like say George Lucas touched your childhood. I won't say what they accused him of in the
the horrid song.
It was 2010. It was a different time back then.
It's a different time, but it was still bad then.
Yeah. But I have what looks to be one final group waiting to
awesome
to come in, I believe. So yeah, do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, shout out to Marvin for being here. Thank you so much for showing us Revan's true face.
Yes.
Is that Revan's true face?
He has
Is it?
inconsistent accent.
Is it? I guess I'll close with. I think Element
Con
hit
Air.
on something really touching with the fact of like the documentary is a learning example of how not to be as a fan, how to be going forward and treat future generations. Let people enjoy things. It's not that hard. Don't tell them their fun is wrong. If they love it, good. You don't have to. But you also don't need to spread hate and make people feel bad for enjoying something. Because they might see something in it you don't.
And also,
That's
My
okay.
mind goes straight to the guy who's like, "Who here enjoyed the prequels? You're wrong."
Yeah. Yeah, that's a mentality that I abhor, is just your fun is wrong. It's just like, how dare you?
I also think the biggest thing with the documentary is watch the documentary, because those who do not learn their history are doomed to repeat it. And I think that, that's the biggest thing that, honestly, I think this documentary is really one of the most important, tools in showing people that their favorite thing, the 15-year-olds who were, not in existence when this hatred was around, and maybe like didn't really hear all those, the prequels are terrible things that I heard, and are always like, nobody hated the prequels, everyone hates the sequels because the sequels are bad, but the prequels were good, and have that false mentality. I think the most important thing for them to, grow as parts of the community is to know their history. And for that, I think this documentary has to be like required viewing for Star Wars fans.
The one thing that I would like to see moving forward at some point is get the most toxic, hateful clowns in one room, show them this, and watch as they say, I'm not like that. Just see if
But
they have
I
any
only hate on the
revelations.
real bad movies.
I also worry that they would laugh and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh god, no.
experiment failed.
You're missing the point.
Well, no, but that also is part of is what I think to be another important message from the movie, is because they talk about how we think that we'll be in retirement homes somewhere, talking about what went wrong with the Phantom Menace, and maybe that's true. I don't think those people change. I don't. I think they probably stop caring as much, or they start being as outspoken about it. But eventually, the new generation comes in, and the new voices flood out. And I think that's largely how Star Wars has remained successful since 1977. What other fandom has done that to this extent?
Star Trek has been around as long, but is not going near as strong as far as I'm aware.
I want to say Firefly, but I don't know if that'd be true.
Your words hurt.
I mean, wouldn't it
but
be
it's okay.
considered equivalent, since there hasn't been any new one, but yet a cultish fan base still pervades?
It just never got to that size. But I will say there's one thing
It's persistent.
that the Firefly base has that no one else has, is all the actors went on separate ways, and people support them because they love Firefly in whatever project, regardless of if they like that project. I think that's
Well, it's like when Alan Tudyk was announced as K2SO, I was like, huh, yay,
He's on my shirt.
yes. Oh,
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for popping in. I we'll bring in the next group. May the force be with you guys. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind hopping out, and hopefully I will get to talk to you again.
May the force be with
Sounds
you.
good. We are all the Republic.
For light and for life.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my god, is that the guy from SK Base?
Hello.
Come on, AJ.
There you are.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm great.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Doing good.
I'm happy to have everyone on. I'm excited, because the documentary was great. I thoroughly enjoyed watching with everyone and getting to see kind of like reactions and stuff too, finding out how things were, But yeah, why don't we start? Let's go around the room, and then you guys can introduce who you are, kind of where you're from, and let's see. Who are you married to in the Star Wars universe? How's that? How's that? And I'll let you guys. I will start with, and I apologize because you guys all have different names now. I'm gonna start with Little Bob the Builder.
So hi, I'm Mackenzie or Mac, whichever one. Mac builds on TikTok, and what else do we want to say? Just like our fictional, or who we're married to.
Yeah, in Star Wars, your character in
Okay.
Star Wars. Who are you married to?
I'd have to say Ahsoka. She's been my fictional Star Wars crush. Season 7 Ahsoka. I really like. I don't know. She's just such a cool character, and I just gotta say Ahsoka.
That's fair. Only because you're young enough to pull it off. AJ,
Yeah, I
you
am.
can't say Ahsoka.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, specifically the Clone Wars movie. No.
Yeah, we call that instant kick. How about you, AJ?
Okay, so I'm AJ. I'm Jedi Starkiller on TikTok, and I am the SK base everywhere else. For legal reasons, SK stands for Soup Kitchen. But if I had to have a fictional wife in the Star Wars universe, I feel like it feels generic, but I gotta go Leia. Like, I definitely feel a lot of kinship with Han. And so, like, I find a lot of traits that my wife has are traits that Leia has, just like a strong, no-nonsense woman, because I'm full of a lot of crap, and she takes none of it.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And last but not least, Lobo Boy.
I'm William. I'm from New York, and I would have said Leia would be my Star Wars wife, but since she's taken, I'm gonna have to go with Padme. I'm definitely a sim for Padme.
I
On
feel like
some
Leia'd
level,
be
aren't we
okay
all?
with the both of us.
Can't get Leia, go for a mom.
That sentence just feels weird because of the order that I saw everything in, and knowing who's much younger, But there's nothing wrong with it. It just feels weird. But yeah, we saw the documentary, and I'm curious to you guys what jumped out at you after watching it. Has it changed your perspective on anything? What'd you guys think? And feel free to jump out. Let's do Will first.
Well, I actually didn't watch the documentary yesterday. I completely missed it. I watched like a minute of it, unfortunately. I'm gonna get around to watching it probably like tomorrow or something. I really wish I watched it now, but whatever.
Oh yeah, no worries at all. We're still happy to have you join us and hang out here. And And so we'll come out to just regular questions in just a moment. But how about you, Mackenzie?
Well, what I found interesting is like I was aware that there's a lot of prequel hate, but what especially stuck out to me was like the special editions and how even like the changes in like the simple special effects, or like how big of a deal everyone was like who shot first and like all like Jabba and everything. Like it really surprised me because I knew a lot of people hated the sequels, but like the fact that just like the remastered versions like really surprised me.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's like what is it that you don't like? But it's different. It was something that was different.
Yeah.
And that's hard to accept. I mean, how about your thoughts on it, AJ?
So, I mean, first off, Chaco and I have very similar. We come from the same exact, time period. So, like, we have a lot of the same moments of like. But one thing I will say that is different between you and I is, I remember being one of those fans who like, I liked the prequels, but none of my friends really did, and so I would often find myself like making excuses for things and being like, yeah, I didn't really like that either. I mean, Obi-Wan was pretty great, but that movie wasn't very good. You kind of had to hide the parts that you did enjoy. Like, I remember being like, I thought I was the only kid in the world that liked Jar Jar. Like, I really did. But I think the most important... Sorry, my kids. I think the most important moment, or the most important topic of discussion that this movie brought up for me was the topic of ownership of art. Because they make a point that while it's George Lucas's creation, once it became a movie that they all loved, does the audience share part ownership in that material? Like, because that was their argument for like hating the special editions, was that wasn't the Star Wars that they grew to love, and they felt that it was really unfair that he basically tried to go in and erase every copy of these original versions from existence, and they felt like that was something that they were owed, they were entitled to. And boy, if that doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting discussion, though, because I don't know what the true answer is. Once the art is out there and it's given to the world, the person used the example of the Mona Lisa. If Da Vinci comes to the present and it was like, yeah, I didn't really like her smile, I'm gonna change that. Is that okay? Or is that weird? I don't know. So, Will, what is your favorite part of Star Wars?
Honestly, for me, we're just like my favorite trilogy is the original trilogy, but I just like everything about Star Wars in general. And like, even though I didn't see the documentary, I kind of get like what I think it was about, and I think I understand why people were upset about like the special editions, because like it's fine that he makes special editions, but like people kind of want to see the movies that they grew up with. And like I saw the original versions, and I do like the special editions better. Especially like my favorite change is like the new song at the end, which I know a lot of people like Yub Nub. I think the new song is a lot better.
Chop who up? Nope. Sorry.
Yeah, I just think the new song is just more emotional. But I get why people want to just see Yub Nub, just because that's just what they grew up with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I don't think people should be like toxic about it or anything like that.
It is funny. I mean, a lot of people. The thing that surprised me the most is because we did have a lot of people that grew up with the prequels, in the audience while we're watching it. And you had mentioned it, Mac, but the whole who shot first and how big of a deal that is to the entire community. And I gotta be honest, because I've made TikToks where I'm like, Han shot only, and I'm like, crap, am I one of them? I'm watching this like, dang it, I've done this myself. it's just interesting seeing how circular these kind of events can be, and how silly it is when you're watching these people be mad at these small things, but it's because you don't have the emotional attachment. You know what I mean?
But you know what's funny is, like, I always find myself weirdly on the side of the Han shot only debate. Like, and I actually
Same.
do, like, I like a lot of the changes, or I'm indifferent to most of them. But I really don't like the decision to have Han, or to have Greedo shoot first.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'll admit it, because I feel like narratively it really does impact what we know of Han Solo and, like, the narrative impact. But, like, it's not enough that I'm going to make my entire personality fighting with people on the internet about whether or not Han shot first. Like, sure, I take issue with it, but not nearly as big as some of those people. Woo!
So, I mean, I want you guys to imagine, because back then, like, the internet wasn't, what it is now, obviously. So these people, how much, like, ire you have to learn HTML before Dreamweaver even exists. They're coding this in Notepad. And you have to learn HTML so that you could make a website, so that you could talk about how much you hate this. I don't know. I mean, do you have any more thoughts or any more things jump out at you? It doesn't have to be about, toxicity or the fandom, but just, like, there was some, like, one of the things I loved is getting to see how much, fan art and fan creations that were inspired, and how, since there was no content for 17 years, how much stuff people made, and how people making this stuff, making stop motion stuff and doing this, that's why J.J. Abrams became a director, is making his own Star Wars films in his backyard with his toys, I know, any thoughts on that, Mac or Will?
I mean, it sounds really incredible. Like, that brings me back to what you were talking about earlier about the Indiana Jones film. Like, how they lit themselves on fire, but they're so committed to it. Like, it's just super cool to me. Like, everyone, they put their own spin on it. And you know what you're talking about, J.J. Abrams and action figures? That reminds me of, I think when they were filming The Mandalorian Season 2, how one of, like, the directors of the fight scene, he got his action figures out to, like, see how he's going to make the whole scene. And I just feel like it's cool how, like, even today that they go back to the action figures and making their own, like, little movies and stuff. And I think it's just so cool, even, like, with stop motion and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think specifically about Boba Fett. Because that's the director you're talking about in Mando Season 2. He was talking about how he used his action figures to, like, set up how Boba Fett was going to be fighting all this stuff. Boba Fett didn't do anything in any Star Wars media. And, like, that's what's really, I mean, he did, the thing he did the most in is the Star Wars Holiday Special. He rode on a weird dinosaur. It was pretty cool. But, he didn't actually do anything in the films. He got beat by a blind kid, blind guy, and, but it's the imagination that a collective imagination from the fandom that created this character, created the Mandalorians and all this stuff. I don't know, it's just like a really interesting study. What are you looking for? Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I think the reason why people like Boba Fett so much is because I think that just the first line, like, that Vader says to him, like, when he says no disintegrations, that just makes him seem, like, so awesome. And his whole look is just pretty cool in general, like, and so that just made people like, whoa, this guy must be a huge deal. And then in the next movie, he just gets killed by Harrison Han Solo. He's blind. I'm
Yeah.
happy he's back though in the Mandalorian.
Same. Yeah, I'm definitely stoked to see what's gonna happen in Book of Boba. I'm really excited for that. Yeah. So before we switch out and move on to the last group here, do you guys have any final thoughts, or which of the projects are you looking forward to the most that's coming out?
Definitely the Kenobi show, 100%.
Kenobi. Yeah, I haven't made videos on it yet, but I need Plug Eye to be in there. I don't know if any of you have read Kenobi, the John Jackson Miller novel, but there is a Tusken Raider warrior, and she's an absolute badass. One of her eyes is replaced with a red gem, and she's just like whooping ass all over Tatooine. And she is canon. She was canonized in from a certain point of view. So I think we're gonna get her. I'm excited for it. How about you, Mac?
For me, I have to agree with Kenobi. I think that one's super exciting and I can't wait. But I also think the Acolyte, I think it's like really interesting to see more of like late High Republic. And like I'm just reading Light of the Jedi right now, trying to get into High Republic stuff. So I really want to learn more about it, and especially seeing it like, in a TV show form will be very interesting to see, expanding the time period of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, definitely. And then Luke V2 lightsaber in the chat points out Greedo shooting and missing just looks so dumb, which is something that they do talk about because he's like 3 feet away. You're a pretty poor bounty hunter if it's not gonna if you can't make that shot. But how about you, AJ?
So the last little thing I was going to say was that if you look at it from a certain point of view, everything Star Wars that isn't made directly by George Lucas is fan fiction. Whether it's Disney canon, whether it's the EU, it's all from a certain point of view fan fiction. And I think that's why people feel such like ownership towards it, is because they feel like it was created by them. And I think that when Disney took over, they started to feel like it was corporatized, as though like Lucasfilm itself was not a corporation that was doing that long before Disney took over. But yeah, it's just like that was my final.
They just want money.
Don't we all? But as for the thing I'm most excited for, so I'm excited for both of these shows. Kenobi's going to be amazing. The Acolyte, I'm always excited for all of the new High Republic stuff. But to throw a little curveball, I'm excited for the end of Vader 2020 and Afra 2020 as they're like starting to wrap up. But like Vader 2020 especially is like the thing I'm most looking forward to wrapping up right now.
Vader 2020 is all the feels. It's all the feels of any comic. If you want to be a sad boy, read Vader 2020. If you especially you will, because if your wife is going to be Padme, whew. Ooh. It takes place right after Empire Strikes Back. So he has just fought with Luke. He just cut off Luke's arm, and Luke was just like deuces, and just decided to fall off a cliff instead of join him. And by the way, that's one of my favorite Vader expressions. Is when he's just like
yeah.
What? It's second only to when he just goes, "What?" that's my actual favorite one. But yeah, he's like, okay, so I have a son. I need to figure out what's going on. He breaks into Padme's old apartment, and he sees Padme standing there. He's like, what? But it turns out it's actually Sabe. But just imagine how like weird that would be to see years later, and you see Sabe standing there when you're breaking into Padme's apartment. It's all the sad boy. It's all the Vader tears.
But also minor, like, spoilers. It explains what Vader means when he says, that he's afraid of his. You don't know the power of my master. I must obey him. Because at one point, he literally rips off all of Vader's limbs with nothing but the Force. Like, yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It's great.
But all right, guys, thank you so much for joining. If you wouldn't mind hopping out, and I will bring in the last
Thank
group.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, and if you're not following
Thank you
SK
so much.
SK Base, that YouTube channel, please do. That's AJ, who was just here. He's awesome. As I'm bringing the new people in, the Grey Ghost Jedi says opinions on Darth Bane. Darth Bane is my favorite Legend Sith. The story of Dez from Patros is incredible. He's just he's amazing. And the Darth Bane book being the first like real window into the dark side and the depth that it goes into, I love it. I absolutely love it. Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing good as well?
Let's see here. Sorry, just to catch you up on the chat. A couple interesting comments, but yeah, it's fun. You guys are doing well. Let's start out by going around the room. I'll have you guys introduce yourselves. And the question this is well, so last time I did which character are you married to. This time I'm going to do which character is your kid. Right? This is your kid that you are proud of. Actually, maybe they're not. You're not proud of, but maybe they're just like you and you don't like that. Yeah. Introduce yourself and let me know which Star Wars character is your kid. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll go first. Well, this is actually kind of a funnier one, and actually something I wanted to get into later. But I actually just this year introduced my girlfriend to Star Wars. So I just made her a Star Wars fan. She'd never seen any of them in her entire life, and so I started her. Well, I didn't start her, but we watched the Clone Wars movie, and she absolutely loved. Was it Stinky Rada? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she absolutely loves him. She thinks he's the cutest thing. I was shocked by that, but since she loves Stinky so much, I'll go with him.
Okay, nice. And then also for right now, because all of our names change, I know you as Little Soldier Boy. What want me to call you?
My name's Harold.
Harold. All right, perfect. And how about you, Harith?
I was gonna say I'd probably, because I was just like thinking about like possibilities. I'm probably gonna go with the Wookiee character from the Gathering episode of Clone Wars, just like the little Wookiee Padawan.
Oh, Gunji.
Youngling. Yeah, Gunji. So I was like, I could obviously Grogu, but I'm like, that's the easiest pick ever, so I'm not gonna go with that.
He's your little fur baby. I like it. I like it. I'm with it. And how about you, Sawyer?
Oh my gosh, I don't know who my child is. Well,
Are we all your children?
Okay, actually, yes, but not my Star Wars child. Everyone in the taco server is my child, but no. They call me Darth Sawyerism. I am Marvin Stevenson's mortal enemy. Who is my Star Wars child?
You have
Probably Grogu.
a better accent than Marvin Stevenson as well.
I do think I have a better accent. I would agree with that.
Sorry, Oh, okay. I thought I saw something in the chat, but it's the exact opposite of what I thought. I just saw Brooke saying both Tatooine sons if possible, and I was like, what? But it turns out there was a previous conversation. She did not want to have the Tatooine sons as her children, so that's a plus.
Okay.
But yeah, after watching that documentary, right, we had the People versus George Lucas, and I think it's because I talked to a lot of fans that grew up, like I said, during the Clone Wars, and their thoughts on what the fandom was prior to that, or what Star Wars is to them, is wildly different, and it kind of paints a different picture. I'm curious how that affected you. What do you guys think of it?
Does anyone want to go first?
I guess I'll go first. Okay. So, weirdly enough, like, I was aware of the prequel hate at the time, because anywhere in like 2014 to I would say about 2017 was the weird era of Star Wars. There was still prequel hate, but it wasn't as popular. It was still like hated upon by others, but it wasn't just as vocally loud as it used to be. So out of curiosity, I was like where did this even start from? So I started going backwards. So I went to the old Red Letter Media videos of like they're like how long was their episodes? Like they had like
it's like an hour long each one.
It was ridiculous. It was like longer than the movie, and it was like, yeah, you see those with the sequel stuff. But it's just like I remember that, and then I was like, and then they started talking about the Force.net forum. That I started reading through those. I was like, wow, this is not even different than now with the sequels, because it was like they had like the bashers and the gushers. That's what they would call the two people that liked it or hated it. If you hate it, you're a basher. If you liked it, you're a gusher. It's
Gushers
like,
are delicious. So, do they still make Gushers? Is that still a thing?
Again?
Do they still make Gushers? Do you guys remember those candies? No?
Yeah, Gushers are awesome. I think they still make them.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, inappropriate jokes come to mind. Anyways, what are your thoughts on it, Sawyer?
I guess I feel like I knew what we were getting into when you made the announcement that you were going to do this anyway, because like there was a purpose, like, to show us what was going on then and as it compares to now. But I guess I just wasn't prepared for some of the things that were said in this documentary. As much as I see, like, as much as we deal with the sequel hate now, and I'm so used to horrible things being said about the sequels, I don't think anything could have prepared me for the songs and the raps and the poems and I don't know. That is not something I've seen with the sequels, so
Once you see George Lucas pretty much it's over. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, during that part, I kept like being like, oh, okay, I hope no one's like low-key offended that it was different times back then. I don't know. They got some of the analogies were a little tone deaf, if you will. Any favorite parts or highlights that you'll kind of carry with you?
Favorite parts. I don't know. There was so many. I remember watching the that South Park episode they brought up about Indiana Jones.
I don't think bring that up.
I understood it when I watched it way back then, but now I get it.
I forgot how graphic that was, but because I remember being like, young watching like, haha, this is funny. That movie sucks, and then I don't know. Now I'm like, this is kind of weird. I don't know. I already mentioned it, but I will never get that lady's face out of my mind with all the toys hung up in that room, saying how George Lucas ruined her marriage and took her kids away from her. Like, all right.
I forgot about that part.
All right, lady. I don't think George is the problem. How about you, Sawyer? Any more thoughts?
I mean, I feel like so much happened yesterday that I'm struggling to pick part of the movie. If you catch my drift, so skip me.
Yeah, no worries. It was an interesting day.
Yeah.
If I could say something about like my thoughts about it is So I hear all the time you and I don't want to call you old, but older than me. People talk about the hate that the prequels kind of got when they came out. But I was just a kid. I was born when Attack of the Clones came out, so I really missed all that. I remember my introduction. I said it in the YouTube chat earlier. Was Lego Star Wars on DS and the Clone Wars cartoon. That's what got me into it. And then as I got older, I kind of heard about the prequel hate, but I grew up with them, so I really didn't care. I would describe myself today as kind of like a prequel skeptic, where it's like I love them, but like I see what they're talking about, and that's what I kind of felt when I was watching the documentary. Is where they would say something, I would go, I agree with that, and then they would kind of be really, extra with it and be a little dramatic. I'd be like, that's a little much, but like I understand. Like I said in the chat earlier, I don't really like the special editions, but like some of the things they were saying were very dramatic, and I think that kind of highlights the period really well.
Yeah, and like, so one of the things that I do love about like the special editions, for instance, having Tamara Morrison's voice for Boba Fett. I don't know how you can not like that. I mean, yes, I guess it is a little insensitive to the original actor's voice, which is no longer there, but now it gives us a nice little window into the clones and the Clone Wars and all that stuff. I think that's cool.
I personally disagree. That's just me though, because I've seen the original versions. I went back. There's fan restorations you can find online of them in HD. So I went back and watched A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi with the original versions, and I think I prefer Jason Wingreen's original voice to Boba. It sounds more like a Western cowboy, but you could. I've always kind of like headcanoned it where like Boba tried to like differentiate himself from Jango, so like because like he's not like a perfect clone. He's like he's more of a son than a clone. Like,
yeah, you'd end up speaking different, having a different vernacular. You're different people. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I was. Oops, sorry.
No, I like it now with Mando, but like back then before Mandalorian, I've always preferred the original version.
Yeah, I always liked the idea, like you were saying, that since he grew up with bounty hunters, maybe his voice wouldn't be the perfect clone voice. It would be, I don't want to do an impression because I don't think it'd be very good, but like the original version.
Do it.
No.
Do it. Do it.
I have a question for the chat. I need you guys to tell me what is the best and the worst changes with the special editions. I'm curious. And X-Core Gamer Skills says, I'm old. I remember the Ewok hate. Because there was a lot of people that absolutely hated Return of the Jedi because Return of the Jedi broke Star Wars. So yeah, it's interesting. So okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get mine out of the way. I have trouble believing that you guys would prefer the original appearance of Palpatine.
No, I want that so bad.
Play eye.
It's a woman in a gorilla mask with goggles.
I often I want to see it just to see it and experience it, but I didn't even realize, it didn't even occur to me until maybe like a couple of years ago that wasn't the original. I knew about obviously like the Jabba CGI and all that other stuff, but like one day I was like, wait a second, hold on, Ian McDiarmid was not old enough for this back then. What's going on?
Actually, he kind of was. Ian McDiarmid was Palpatine in Return of the Jedi. He was super young.
That wasn't just.
He was super young.
Okay. Because I'd read that and I was like, wasn't he young? But like, okay, so he still did the voice.
So it was a different character in Empire, like essentially.
Gotcha.
I don't remember the original voice, but wasn't it like they got like a girl, and they did the monkey eyes, and then they had, because I've seen it. It's like it was like more of a like this, where it's like the son of Skywalker, and it was like that type of like deeper voice.
Yeah. And
he wasn't like much of a Sith Lord. He kind of got like more. He was like a dark shadow controlling like He wasn't like a Sith. He was just like
it was
kinda
like
more
Wizard of
center.
Oz. That's what I felt
Yeah.
like.
I really want to do one of these days in your server. Or is I have the original versions. I'm just waiting for my class because we're going to talk about it for college. I really want to stream A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi with the original unaltered versions because I have it on my hard drive right now of the scan prints of it the fans did. in 4K.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be a great thing to show. That might be interesting. I want to see what here. St. Pack says the best change is Jedi rocks, and
100%.
That's at the bottom of my list.
And he says the worst change is Hayden Anakin Force Ghost.
I don't like that one either, actually.
I do.
I'm mixed on it.
I think it's cute that they put him in there, but it also I'm just not a big fan of it personally.
That one never bothered me. I like the new Ewok celebration song.
Yes, even though I love Yub Nub in my heart, though.
Like I Elements Heaven and I have talked about this. I like it. I don't know. It's to me, that was the song. It's a classic to me. Like it's not. I've heard the original version. I'm partial to it. I don't think that was a bad choice.
By the way,
For me,
sorry, go ahead.
You can go. Well, I was just gonna say that for me, the special editions really fall into like two categories, where it's like quality of life, where it's like fixing Palpatine's face, or like you mentioned Bespin earlier, where it looks a lot more beautiful now with the windows and stuff. Where I think that's what I really do enjoy about it, because it kind of fixes that. And then there's other scenes like Jedi Rock, or the scene in to Mos Eisley, is that the town's name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where that big dinosaur walks directly in front of you.
God.
I hate that. Anything that's too like intrusive, I don't like. I just like nice little color grading and stuff like that. But
I don't mind
that's just me.
expanded shots where like it shoots out and you see like more of Mos Eisley and you see ships taken off. I don't
I
mind like
agree.
those type of shots, but like the mirror. Like, there's one shot where they drive by and they had two stormtroopers in CGI. Instead of just like making new models and just shifting over to the right, they just mirror the footage and like you can see it like completely. Like there's like two stormtroopers here and they mirror it, so it looks like this. It looks really bad if you pay attention to that.
I mean, it's I don't know, it's funny. Like it goes back and forth. In that scene, the Mos Eisley scene, though, one of the ships that takes off is the Outrider, which is Dash Rendar's ship. And so they brought Dash Rendar into canon with the special editions, which I think is pretty cool. It's one of the very first times they brought something from Legends into canon. Also, I remember watching the victory celebration for the first time, and you see Naboo, and you see Coruscant, and I'm like, I have no idea where the hell these are, because the prequels hadn't come out yet, and you're like, I don't know what this is. What am I
never thought of that.
Sorry, because I was researching it. I thought Naboo was in the 2004 DVD, and then Coruscant was in the theater release. Because Naboo was added after the prequels came out. If I remember correctly.
No, you are right. You are right. In the theatrical release, it was just Coruscant. But of course, we've never even seen Coruscant before. And the name Coruscant is also something from Legends. Coruscant was created in Legends, in the books, in Shadows of the Empire, and brought into canon there. So yeah, there's a bunch of things. Carter says best change is Victory Celebration and worst is Jabba in A New Hope, which in its original. So there's so many versions of the special editions.
There's like 3.
I feel very strongly that there's a lot more than 3, but like the very first edition of Han stepping over Jabba was so janky that he was like, and you're like, what the hell just happened? They've smoothed it out over time. I will say though that I do prefer having Hayden's Force Ghost there. Because when I was little and I saw Sebastian Shaw there, I had no idea who that was. I had no clue. Who's that? Who's that guy? Because I don't know. I didn't recognize old Humpty Dumpty looking Vader. But with the additional, canon information that we've gotten since then, if you were rebuilding yourself from memory as a Force ghost, it makes sense he would recreate himself from the last time he remembers himself.
Right.
As a Jedi.
It reminds me of you ever watch the How It Should Have Ended videos? When he comes, he's all mutilated and no arms. And he's like, "Now I recognize you, Dad."
Because like you're saying, the complaints I saw for Hayden's version is what you were saying about I didn't recognize him at all, because that's the complaints people were throwing at, like, because if you watch the original, because most people watch the original trilogy first, then go back and watch 1, 2, 3, you get the same response. You're like, why? Who's this kid in front of Luke? Like, you get that you get the same response pretty much. Either way.
Yeah, and it no longer, regardless, it's no longer self-contained within just that film or just that trilogy.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely get that.
I actually, if I can hop in for 1 sec, I have a really funny kind of story / hot take from someone else. So when I was introducing my girlfriend to Star Wars, because like I said, she had seen one before, and it was The Last Jedi when she went to the theater with me, because I thought she'd seen them before, but she had never, so that was her first one ever. She didn't understand it, so it's not much of a spoiler.
Shouldn't you double check that first?
Well, she's a huge Marvel fan. I assumed it was just part of the territory.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that tracks.
So we watched episode 1 and 2 first, and I was like, I really want her to be destroyed by episode 3. So we watched an abridged version of the Clone Wars, because I was like, I want her to be decimated when it happens. And it actually kind of backfired on me, because she loved the show, but she never forgave Anakin. So when he comes up at the end of the movie, she's like, she started cussing and screaming like she did not forgive him at all. And I was like, how could you not forgive him? Me being an Anakin apologist. But I just thought that was funny.
No, that is great. I've shared it a few times before, but I think Victoria Vader's story is the best. With having seen just A New Hope over and over again, and her being a little kid, and so Revenge of the Sith was going to come out, so her parents had her watch 1 and 2 for the very first time, and then went to the theaters to see episode 3. She had no idea that Anakin was Vader.
Oh!
And that reveal just destroyed her, and they had to take her out of the theater and stuff.
That's awesome.
So
I never thought about 4, 1, 2, 3, then 5. That's an interesting order. Oh.
So if you know anyone that hasn't seen any of them, we might want to try it. But yeah, this has been awesome, and I am happy to do more of these discussions. I think we should do your idea next, Harith, and watch the original unadulterated.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, just
They're
see
so
what our thoughts
good.
are. So yeah, I think I'll reach out. We'll arrange that so everyone can join and enjoy that and have a conversation afterwards. But yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts on anything we've talked about, or the documentary, or what you're excited for that's coming up?
I think they should make one about this era. Honestly.
People versus Kathleen Kennedy.
No, they should not call it that.
I
But
don't know. Just going with the spirit.
maybe I think it was worth considering.
It could be
It's
called
just
George
geeks and
Lucas. I'm
gamers that
sorry.
cry. It's just people, geeks and gamers, crying in the corner of the entire documentary.
Oh, what do you think, Harith?
Yeah, I would say because I didn't get the chance to speak about my worst change. The thing that really turned me off at the special edition, because like I said, I grew up with the 2004 version. It was I picked up the Blu-ray version, or no, I borrowed it from a friend because they had the big 1 through 6 complete saga box set, and I borrowed it from them. And I pop in Return of the Jedi, and when we get to the scene where Palpatine's shooting Luke, and Vader goes, "No, no!" and he picks him up and throws him. I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this is the worst change. Like the original was perfect because you get up to Vader's face and he doesn't say anything. You just get everything you need in that scene without any word of dialogue.
No.
My English teacher, or well, my high school English teacher, he's a huge Star Wars fan too, and we actually have discussions about Star Wars because I'm doing my rewatch, her first watch with my girlfriend, and so I give him my thoughts as I go, and he mentioned that as his least favorite one, and I always thought that was an interesting choice out of all the changes. But yeah.
Just imagine George Lucas getting on the phone and being like, "Hey, James Earl Jones, I need you for like one dialogue."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What is it for?" He's like,
Easiest check of his life.
No. Here's what actually happened. George Lucas was recording the phone call, and James Earl Jones was like, "No, no."
Do you like that change? No. So I guess, did you say one last thought before heading out?
Yeah. Closing thoughts.
I just one last thought from the documentary that really stuck with me is when I think you mentioned it earlier when he's like his kid just thought of them all as Star Wars. They're just all Star Wars to him. That's how I grew up. That's how I remember it, and I think that's kind of what we have to keep in mind as so many kids are growing up with these movies. Personally, I don't have as much of an emotional connection as I do with the prequels, but I still like them. But even if you don't, you got to understand that the little kids watching these movies and really enjoying them. So maybe don't be such a jerk online, even if you don't like it. I don't think there's anything wrong with not liking it, but maybe not be so toxic is what I would say.
And I agree with that 1,000%. It's totally cool. And I actually loved the scene where the dad is like, "Which one do you like?" And he brought up the prequel. And you could tell the dad was defeated inside. You could see it on his face. But he didn't stop his kid. And, he didn't stop his kid's joy. And I think that's the most important thing. Because every new project that we get is someone's first project. It's their first window in. Like, there is going to be someone that watches The Bad Batch because of all the hype that it gets, and they've never seen a single other thing from Star Wars ever before. Isn't that a weird thought to have? Because we all typically kind of feel like everyone started watching it when I did, right? But, I can tell you that none of you guys started watching when I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all have vastly different experiences of when and why we started watching it and what our favorite parts were. So there's this natural assumption like, oh, no, it's all the same. Of course you're going to like this because I like it, That's not true. And the overall thing is just to kind of show that respect. And those people that hated the prequels, that hated the special editions, that hate Return of the Jedi because of the stupid teddy bears. There are people that hate Empire Strikes Back because he was hanging out with a puppet. Like that's a real thing. And I don't think those people changed. And that's okay. They can like what they want to like. I love when we don't prevent other people from liking what they like. But yeah, with that, I will go ahead and shut down. Thank you guys so much for joining, for being part of the community. Had a blast talking with everyone and watching it. But yeah, we'll on to the next one, and we'll have you guys back in the future. And
all right, thank you. It's been an honor.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.